Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video on debilitated planets in your divisional charts and some other unique placement of planets in divisional charts, which are quite misunderstood by many. So we want to clear those up today. And if you think that I'm in a tropical Hawaiian weather and it's a nice, warm here in my room, well, here in my house, it's about 78 to 79 degrees, okay? But as soon as you go outside, it's 25 degrees. And there's literally 3/4 of an inch of ice frosting. It's not snow yet. Snow is actually headed, I think, in 12 days. But that'll be fun, man. I'm actually looking forward to that. But it is chilly. Like, I couldn't just wear socks. I had to come back from like a mile away to come back and wear my shoes and then drive again. It's that cold. So, we're going to be talking about debilitated planets and understanding certain types of planetary placements in divisional charts. Because many request like, hey, what about debilitated planets in divisional charts? What happened to them? Am I doomed if I have a certain planet debilitated in a certain chart? And I'm here to tell you that no, not necessarily. It could, but we'll find out. But before that, if you do not know where your planetary placements are on your own birth chart, what your divisional planetary placements are, which is very, very important, especially your Namansha D9 chart, Dasamsa D10 chart, or for children, Saptamsa chart D7, because these are like, narrowed down version of each planet. Like, it's like it funnels each quality of the planet down into divisional charts. So it's very important. This is why Vedic astrology is like so awesome, man. So if you do not know these things, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light, including my consultations at this link. And obviously, I'm going to be coming out with my next book, Mahadashas at the Speed of Light, probably within 6 months now. It's almost done. I've been writing this thing for literally, I think about 1.5 years now. So it'll be 2 years. Like, I've just been grinding myself, trying to put as much detailed information as possible. So, divisional charts and what happens when planets are debilitated. Well, let me first of all tell you that a planet, even if it's debilitated, may actually give excellent results. Why? Well, many people think that when, let's say if you have exalted sun in the ascendant, okay, your sun is in Aries, then you go to an astrologer who looks at your Namansha chart, the D9 chart, which is a chart related to your married life, your spouse, and showing the true spiritual path or true path that your planet is wanting to take in this life. So when an astrologer looks at that and sees that, oh my God, your sun is debilitated in the Namansha chart, what is to happen? Well, on a basic perspective, if we just know this A through Z, A, B, C, D of astrology, we'll be like, well, the planet is exalted, it's very good state in the birth chart, but it's debilitated in the Namansha chart, which means that eventually you are going to suffer from humiliation, you're going to suffer from low self-esteem and low confidence in your life, perhaps even especially after marriage. Right? That's the basic concept. And, if you have debilitated sun in the 7th house, an astrologer will quickly say your married life will always be troubled. You're always going to have ego problems with the spouse. And you probably wouldn't even get married. And that's not the case. Sometimes that's not the case. That could be the case. Don't get me wrong. That could be the case. But why is it that a debilitated sun will still won't harm you in its Mahadashas, transits, or just in his general life perspective? Well, in divisional charts, and I've said this many times, you have to see if there is cancellation of that debilitation happening. Because most astrologers, okay, do not use aspects, house placements, and yogas in Namansha chart or any other divisional chart, which is very important. So in the birth chart, as you know, cancellation of a planet occurs through Neech Bhang Raj Yoga. If your planet is debilitated in your birth chart, anywhere, any house, and if the dispositor of that planet or the planet where, or the sign where that planet is exalted, if Lord of that sign are in Kendra houses, meaning 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th, especially the 10th, it creates a cancellation of that debilitation. So we all know this, who have been studying astrology, is that, wow, yeah, that's a Neech Bhang Raj Yoga, so I will not be suffering as much from that debilitation. But what about divisional charts? It's a chart itself. It is a chart. So you got to apply the same principles in the divisional chart to see if that Neech Bhang is occurring. And if, let's say, your debilitated planet is sitting with the exalted planet in the Namansha chart, that is also cancellation. So if, let's say, Sun is debilitated in this sign of Libra in your Namansha chart, but it's sitting with Saturn, and Saturn is exalted in Libra. So what is happening? That Sun is receiving a lot of support. It's not cancellation. It's not like Neech Bhang, but it's a great support. Like Sun's foundation now has nails in it. It's not a concrete thing, but it's nails in it. It can still stand. So that's a way to understand that debilitation. But also, you got to understand there are other divisional charts in your horoscope. And one thing especially that I noticed was that when Saturn is debilitated in the sign of Aries, especially in your Dasamsa chart, the D10 chart of your career, your success, the professional progress in your life, it actually does very well. So that's another thing you want to understand about signs, is that especially fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, fire signs become very potent for certain divisional charts. Especially when it comes to career, like your D10 chart, if you have planets in fire signs, they will help you a lot. So debilitated Saturn may look like, oh my God, it's going to create havoc. But guess what? That Saturn with its work ethics will be able to beat that low dignity of itself. Because what is Dasamsha? Your professional life, right? You got to get out there and fight. Fight for your right. Fight for your position. Fight for your salary. So what do you need in order to fight in your heart? Do you need a lot of air? No, that's just verbal stuff. You're not going to be able to achieve anything from that. Do you need earth? Well, you're just going to be sitting at one spot thinking something's going to happen. No, you need fire. You got to have fire within you to achieve something. Right? Like whenever you see some coach say, come on, where's that fire? Let's go. Because fire is fueled. It's a fueled entity. So you got to have fuel. This is why in the Samsha chart, especially when you have planets in the sign of fire sign, where Saturn especially is debilitated, it'll actually do very good for you. And especially Saturn will do very well for you when you put your own effort with the fire sign. Because let's say if Saturn is in the 6th house debilitated in your Dasamsha, 10th house is debilitated. What's going to happen is anytime you go for a job or work, you will be able to accomplish the task of getting a job. But maintaining that is where that negative side of Saturn then will come. Because you will have problems with your bosses, with senior executive, or if you're in a position where you're like considered a servant, it's going to provide quite a bit of problem. What do I mean by this? If you're a server in a restaurant, you're a servant, right? You are bringing food, you're taking care of things. And if Saturn is debilitated, you'll notice that you will always run into either very rude customers. You'll go from one restaurant to the other very frequently. And versus everybody else, you'll be working 5 times as hard. And this is where Saturn's use of its own effort comes into play. Where instead of like doing that job thing, Saturn will put its own effort into creating something of its own. So that's where this will help. In the Mancha chart, D9 chart, which is a chart of your marriage, of a chart of your, second part of life, or, pretty much where you're heading. See, this is why we say second part of life. It's not specifically second part. It's like when you grow and mature up, you're moving forward, right, towards your ultimate destination, which is death. So when you're growing, that means you're maturing. It's the mature part of your life that we see. And especially if I'm not mistaken, according to Bhrigunadi Jyotish, Bhagya Uday, meaning like your awakening of your Bhagya happens either at 21, 25, 27, 33, 36. Don't quote me on it, but it's particular ages where a person will find sudden success. So this is why we see that in your 30s, the success becomes much more evident versus early time because you're more mature. And what happens is you come into your Namansha, you're able to understand the world more because now you're able to understand your true dignity, who you are as a person. So when planets are debilitated in the Namansha, what happens is that doesn't mean that a planet will hurt you. Okay, like if you have a debilitated Mars in Namansha chart, what can happen is this person will become a very clever businessman. This person will be able to fight and play a game of war where the person might cheat to gain advantage. This is how you got to study these debilitated planets now, because especially nowadays versus 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, where there was hardly something known as a merchant or a business, where mostly everybody was like a worker under the kingship. Only the regal royal people were the owners of businesses, or you had to be related to the king somehow to have that in India or anywhere else. So that's where this concept wasn't as visible, where we saw that debilitated planet will keep you suffering, because if you're not successful in a job, then you're not going to be successful anywhere else. You're always going to struggle. But now in 2015 or 1900, when the Industrial Revolution came into play, when entrepreneurship came into play, especially in countries like United States, Germany, where there was innovation, they wanted you to think on your own, they wanted you to do things on your own instead of depending upon someone else for a check. That's where you saw that people who had exalted planets are very honest. They're like, well, I bought this for $1. I don't want to sell it for $7. I want to sell it for $2. That's it. I'm happy. I don't think I can take that person's money. Where somebody who has debilitated Mars, debilitated Sun, Jupiter in the Namansha chart, what's going to happen is, all right, so my dignity is low of one of my planets, okay? And I'm going through that period of that planet. Or that planet becomes that ascendant of my Namansha, or the 7th Lord, 10th Lord, 11th Lord. Say, you know what? I'm tired of making minimum wage. I'm tired of just getting a stupid salary. This is not my life. My life is to be, I want to enjoy, I want to be able to at least, if I cannot get a Ferrari, maybe I can just get a BMW. How do I do this? Well, you know what? I'm going to buy this stuff in wholesale. I can probably buy it for $1. But you know what? I'll probably market my product so well that I can sell it for $25. While the product is really worth $5, not $25. But that's what business is. The marketing side of business is the clever side that gets activated when the planetary dignity is low. Because when you have an exalted Mars, a person will be like a soldier. Like, yes, I have to follow the righteous path. I have to do what the rules are saying. And in business, there's this quote. You got to break the rules. Don't break the law, but you got to break the rules to be successful. So a person with a planet with a low dignity will, according to classical text, will think in a manner which is low. How do I extract the money, right? Like the Wall Street, everybody who goes like, what was that, Occupy Wall Street movement. How can these guys get all this money and they don't have a heart for us? That's the dignity of the bad planets. Now, of course, I'm not saying all of you, are good doing all this. No, this is just how life is. But where it suffers is your married life, of course. So if, let's say, your planet is not receiving cancellation of debilitation in the Mancha chart, and you have a debilitated planet, certain house in your horoscope, your issues related to the marriage of that house will suffer. You will be experiencing the negative side of that house. So let's say if you have a debilitated planet in the 5th house without any Neech Bhang Raj Yoga, without any support of planetary placement or aspect, what will happen is in the 5th house, because of the birth of your children, your spouse and you will fight a lot. Because you may want to raise them the one way, she may want to raise them the other way, and that's where you guys don't get along. And this is something you never thought about before until you got married. So you see that debilitated planet is making you suffer. But when it comes to like making speculative investments, risk-taking, this person will be like, you know what, I got to find a quicker, better way to make this money in the stock market. Okay, maybe I know that guy who's working in this company, who's working in that company, he knows them. Maybe I can ask him what's going to happen with this lawsuit that they're going through. Inside trading, right? So he gets this information through backdoor. And he knows they're going to win this lawsuit. He buys that stocks up on it. And when the lawsuit comes out, they won, stock goes up 20 points, made his money and never gets caught. People will get caught, some will not, won't get caught. That too, you got to look, what timing are you running? Are you running a time to be caught and be punished by the government, or are you running to a time where you can just simply attain and fulfill all your desires? But in the Samsa chart, whenever planets are debilitated, especially when it comes to your profession, you will suffer where rules and regulations are to be followed. So debilitated sun, if you work in a government, you'll have the most horrible time. Everybody will be against you. And it's not like politics or government. You could be just working in a city office. Like you could be taking care of all the urban planning. And your debilitated sun in the 10th house will always make you get into all sorts of ego battles and fights with your co-workers, and you suddenly lose a job from the government. But where the sun will help is when you go to the dignity of the sign where the sun is. Libra. Libra is what? Business. In business, you will be able to shine. Your ego will come up. When you're in government, you will always suffer. You won't make the money. When you're doing business, bam, money's coming in. People are respecting you. People are looking at you in a nice way because now you're driving the Mercedes-Benz instead of your Toyota. So this is where now sun is helping. So this is why when you see your Dasamsha and you see, oh my God, I have a debilitated planet, and you see the fact that it doesn't have Neech Bhang Raj Yoga, it doesn't have any support of the other planet, and it is making you suffer, then you gotta understand that planet wants you to go away from that point to do something completely opposite of that. That's what will help you. So this is where you need to understand the dignity of planets. Like debilitated planets in Chaturvasamsa chart, which is a D4 chart, D16 chart regarding property. So when I've seen malefic planets give person a house, how did that happen? First of all, the birth horoscope has to promise. Number one thing you always have to see, is the main chart promising an event? Will you get a house? Will you not get a house? Once you see that, okay, house is promised in the birth horoscope. You go to the divisional chart and you see. And don't just look at it from a flat eye. Oh, there's a debilitated planet in the 4th house, you'll never get a house. No, the person can get a house. It may be through struggle. It may be through litigation. It may be through fighting. It may be through somebody's death, they will get a house. Like they'll get a house, but when the mother passes away, they'll get a house. And you see the timing, oh, mother's going to pass away, you're going to get a house. So don't just judge debilitated planets like, oh, it's bad. No, look at the situation, the painting, the whole painting of the divisional charts, what is happening. Is the house still promised in the divisional charts? Okay. It's promised, but then we see this negative things happening. Well, what it's showing you that through certain type of a struggle, you're going to get that house. So if your 4th lord is in the 6th house, debilitated planet in the 4th house, or let's say 8th lord in the 4th house, shows through litigation and by somebody's death, you might get a house. Whether it's your father, mother, sibling, uncle, whoever. Yes, there are charts that are devoid of owning your own land or property ever in your life. I mean, this is where I go back and think, like when I went back in my 20s to astrologers, they would say, oh no, you will never own a house. You don't have any yogas of owning a house. And I used to be like, oh my God, yeah, this sucks. They're right, that they saw this, they saw this. And now when I look back at it, I'm like, how stupid were they to give me that prediction, because I knew exactly what they were looking at. They were looking at something just debilitated and they said, oh, that's it, you're not going to have it. While it would be receiving its support from other planets, and today I have a house. So you got to understand, there's these, like, each chart is a recipe. Just like your birth chart is a recipe, each chart is a recipe, like a side dish. All those side dishes are not made from one ingredient. They're made from 20 different ingredients. So let's say your main course is the steak. Okay? That too is made up of all the masalas and salt and pepper and marination and whatnot. Then you have your side dish of mashed potato, green beans. Oh man, I gotta take my wife out to dinner, man, tonight. Anyway, then you have your dessert. Maybe she or your wife orders a souffle, salad. Everything has an ingredient. You can't just say, oh, mashed potato, it's just all potato. No. Mashed potato has many different things that they put in there to make it a mashed potato. So if your Namansha chart is a mashed potato, don't just think they took a potato white and put it there. Oh, that debilitated planet, that's all it is. No. The other ingredients are doing something there. So this is how you want to understand the debilitation of certain planets. But remember, fire signs, the concept of fire signs is very important. Like in fire signs in the Namansha chart will show you will be able to go through towards your spiritual ashram. It shows there's fire in the marriage, not in a bad way. Meaning that there is a lot of burning off the bad karma. Because remember, fire is everything. Without fire, we wouldn't be here. Remember, it's not water, it's not earth, it's not air. Fire is the reason why we're here. Because if we didn't have the fire where everything was created and then sun became a fire, where the solar system was created, we wouldn't have it. All the other things came later. All the foods, water, sea. That's the later stuff. Fire is what energizes a chart. So if let's say you're suffering in your marriage, a fire sign in your chart or the planet in that fire sign will always be able to, it's like that pilot light. It ignites it. So when things are going really, really bad, you can ignite that fire through that planet who's in the fire sign. Or that planet becomes that source. So if let's say Saturn is debilitated in the sign of Aries, but it's in the fire sign, shows that perhaps maybe through a very old, wise person, through your uncle, your marriage might be saved. Or by doing something routine, repetitive, and working constantly at it without giving up, you'll be able to save your marriage. That's what Saturn is in the sign of Aries, not giving up even after all the struggles. So I hope that this has given a bit more of a sense as to what happens when you see suddenly you see a debilitated planet in your ascendant in the Namansha or the Samsha especially, because these are the two main charts that I deal with on a daily basis, you know. But you just have to understand that treat every chart not as a single ingredient, but as an entire recipe. Look at it, it's a dinner plate. It's just a dinner plate. You got your main course, you got your sides, you got your desserts, but everything has many different things in it to make it what it is. And once you see all those things together, then you can see, okay, my planet is bad. Okay, no, my planet is good. Oh, my planet is okay. Neutral. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of understanding debilitated planets and divisional charts. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know what divisional charts you have in your horoscope, where fire signs are, what planet is debilitated, for all that stuff, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, my books, consultations. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with, I think, Paul Manley interview. Bye-bye.